Kevin Faulconer says he's not a candidate for governor and will complete his term as mayor of San Diego. So how is he doing so far? San Diego wants to move the homeless from the streets to housing with $80 million over 3 years. A big boost or a drop in the bucket? And San Diego's steep electricity prices could come down with community choice, but SDG&E may have other ideas. I'm Mark Sauer. The KPBS Roundtable starts now. Welcome to our discussion of the week's top stories. I'm Mark Sauer, and joining me at the KPBS Roundtable today are Michael Smolens, politics editor for the San Diego Union-Tribune. Hi, Michael.
How you doing, Mark?
Good to have you back today. Reporter Susan Murphy of KPBS News. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Mark. Good to be here.
Good to have you. And Ry Rivard, reporter with Voice of San Diego. Hi, Ry.
Hello.
Glad you're here today. Well, he was heralded as an ideal California Republican, conservative on fiscal matters, moderate on social issues. Lots of buzz around the state about a run for the governorship in 2018, even some national pressure from GOP leaders in the House. But Mayor Kevin Faulconer threw a wet blanket on such talk this week, saying he's not interested. So, Michael, what reason did Faulconer give for not going into this governor's race?
Well, one of the reasons, and being a local, we have different perspectives on this, but he's been saying this over and over, frankly. Now, I know there's been discussions behind closed doors, but the first time was in May 2016, and the only mayoral debate of his re-election campaign, where he said he was going to finish his full term. He's told reporters, our editorial board, he's been kind of emphatic. So you ask the question, so why is this keeping going? Well, he has some people that are close to him that are still kind of have been pushing in that direction. And, you know, let's face it, we're in California, and the Republican Party has been in the wilderness for, it seems like ever, or for a very long time. And, you know, they don't have really a viable candidate. Kevin Faulconer, he's, you know, the only real big city Republican mayor in the country. And as you pointed out, that if there's going to be a Californian that is going to lead as governor here, at least, you know, his perspective fits the bill. I mean, you look at Pete Wilson, you know, sort of the mold of the San Diego moderate Republican. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's a different character with star appeal, but again, a Republican with, you know, sort of liberal on social issues and a fiscal conservative.
Mary Jo Kennedy.
His reason was that, you know, he's got too much to do here. And as we know that, you know, he's run into a few bumps along the road recently, and that he's always said that, you know, he's got a job to do here, and the future will take care of itself.
And it has been, as you noted, it's been 2006 since a Republican won statewide office. Why did Democrats dominate so much in California?
Well, it's just been, you know, increasingly, I mean, the demographics politically and I think, you know, otherwise just are pushing the state in that direction. But I think the Republican leadership was hoping that the competition, there's a small handful of very prominent Democrats running, and the Democratic Party is split, and it sort of seems like everybody is pushing each other farther to the left, and they thought, well, you know, maybe more of a mainstream candidate, depending on who the Democratic choice would be, might actually have a shot. But some of the reports said that Faulconer just didn't see a path to victory, and, you know, basically didn't want to, you know, put himself out there just to take one for the team, I guess.
And they were hoping a guy like that might help in some of the down ballot races and some of the Republican Congress folks who might be in trouble here with Trump and
very
healthcare and
so.
everything that's going on.
You know, I talked with the mayor and asked him about that because that, I'm sure a lot of Republican leaders thought he'd be a good fit in, as they say, the Capitol's corner office. But in addition to as much, or if not more so, we're concerned about, you know, the turnout. Now, remember, it was just a year ago that we had two Democratic U.S. Senate candidates for the first time. And, you know, the Republicans just were non-existent in that race. And why they really wanted Faulconer is that at least to have an exciting race with a legitimate Republican contender at the top of the ticket in November. Mm-hmm. If we go into November with two Democrats running against each other, that they think that not only will Republican voter turnout be not enthused and therefore drop, but the money won't be there as much. Mm-hmm. And that's going to hurt some down-ballot races. And it could, you know, locally, Darrell Issa, you know, he hung on to his seat by over 1,600 votes. Now, you know, it will be a different election in 2018, but certainly while the mayor's issues and maybe some of the statewide issues have very little to do with the congressional race, the turnout and money factor could play a part in that kind of race.
And
Susan?
Is this the final decision? Is there any chance he could change his mind?
There's always a chance.
Never say never.
Well, but he did. I mean, you know, he told our editorial board, he told me today when I said, are you going to, you know, does this mean you're ruling out, you know, running for governor in 2018? He said yes. He, I think, wants to be very emphatic about that, because I think also why he did it in the primary, saying he was going to plead his turn, that was really the only, he didn't have very strong opposition, but that was really the only thing that seemed to resonate and forced him to make that declaration. I think it might have hurt him a little bit in, with some of the agenda that he had with this sort of hanging out there. I'm not saying that people were trying to, torpedo his projects and his ambitions or goals here in San Diego for political purposes. That never happens, of course. But that is, I think that if there was any confusion, declaring once again is a big deal, because he's got a lot of things to do. As we know, certain things didn't happen the way he wanted this.
Well, that segues beautifully into this bite that we're going to have, which is Faulconer's priorities. Here he is in a KPBS debate in the 2013 run for mayor.
You can trust me to continue to move forward on the reforms that we've all worked so hard together to make sure that those tax dollars are reinvested into our neighborhoods, particularly our underserved neighborhoods, so we can fix our streets, our sidewalks, put more police officers on the street.
All right, he laid out a little scorecard for himself there. How's he doing?
Well, I think he's given a lot of attention to some of the underserved neighborhoods. To the exact degree of how much that's helped remains to be seen. We know the police officer situation is, I guess, a little bit worse than it had been. So that is
the retention officers still leaving. Yeah,
that's a big problem. In this last run, the last few weeks, months, he's had a difficult time. What his big goal was, of course, was to have this special election with this tax increase that was going to help expand the convention center, help fund homeless programs, and help fill potholes, and that didn't happen.
Not to mention Soccer City and the Mission Valley development.
That whole other aspect. Now, it would be easy to say he's hit a sophomore slump or a second-term slump, and to a degree that's probably accurate, but it's not like these things have gone away. He wanted the special election. They're still on the boards, whether they ultimately happen, but they, are likely to go to voters in some fashion or another next year, and, that's where his energies are. You could play the sort of, the virtual politics game. Let's say that he did get the special election and things were moving in his favor. Would he so emphatically have ruled out the governor race and so forth, now that he might have something pretty decent to run on?
To lean on, yeah.
One little note that politics is a fickle thing, but for about 5,000 votes in the city council election last year, things might be entirely different. Ray Ellis and Barbara Bree ran in the first council district, and Ray Ellis was a Republican and ally of the mayor. He was favored early on to win. It surprised many of us that Barbara Bree, the Democrat, did end up winning. That would have made it, had Ray Ellis won, a 5-4 Republican majority, all of them really aligned with the governor. They probably would have gotten the special
with the
election.
mayor,
And so forth.
yeah.
The mayor, how about that
Freudian slip.
But as you can see, how the dominoes might have fallen differently
Exactly,
for him,
absolutely.
but for that one election.
Well, let's talk about the budget a little bit. We've got another bite here from the mayor announcing the 2017-2018 budget.
We had to make some tough decisions, and we had to prioritize what was most important. And I'm proud to say that this budget keeps rec centers and library hours at their highest level in a decade.
All right. Is this budget, is that a win for him so far, aside from the special election aspect?
Yeah, I think so. Now, paradoxically, this year that they've had to tighten up a little bit, really around the margins, and then it wasn't the deficit, which was a small fraction of the overall budget, wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be, and I don't think most people would feel the kind of trimming they did. He did sort of come into office with, times were booming a little bit better, the revenue was better, he had some money to spend. He and the council did do a lot to, expand the convention, recreation center hours, library hours, and things that were
restored some
really
things, yeah.
cut pretty severely during the Great Recession. It's like I said, that it was a little bit of a setback, and I think tighter times are to come, but the city is in better shape. And let's not forget, when he came into office, the city was just totally paralyzed with the Bob Filner scandal. Right. And while he's had some setbacks here, they are moving forward on things that may or may not happen, but none of that was happening.
How about accessibility? Reporters have accessibility to the mayor. He hasn't come on KPBS shows as much as he once did. Maybe he's busier these days. I don't know. Do your reporters, Susan, when you try to talk to them about it?
It's very tough to. I feel it's very tough to get through and get comments from him in his office. And I often find that you have to basically attend the news conferences and go up with microphone and your camera to get comments and reactions.
So when there's
Right.
enough pressure on an issue, he will talk. This week he talked, or recently he talked to Lisa Haverstad about homelessness.
A voice, yeah.
Fairly decent interview laying out his position, but there had been sort of mounting questions about his strategy, and he tried to explain why it wasn't, upside down in the water.
Okay.
And similarly, I think on the gubernatorial thing, he's talked to us, because he wants to make that message clear, because I think that might have been in the back of people's minds and could distract a little bit.
All right. Well, we're going to move on now to another issue that is really facing and challenging the mayor as other city leaders as well, homelessness. The mayor made reducing homelessness his #1 social service priority in his January State of the City address, but we have more homeless than ever. Now, Susan, you've covered this issue for a while now. How much worse is the situation on downtown streets now?
Well, I just was down there yesterday. I was walking through the streets, 17th Street, 16th, 15th, all along the outskirts of the East Village, and it really is surprisingly worse. It seems like the extensive encampments have grown. It seems like more blocks are covered by tents, so it doesn't seem like it, at least visibly, is getting any better down there.
And the numbers back that up in the annual survey, right?
Right. The numbers increased, and that was a count that was taken in January. So, 6 months later, what are those numbers now? It's kind of hard to gauge.
Yeah, but for any of us who go down there, just
Right.
as a visual survey as you go along the street.
Right. And I often, as I'm walking, I talk to people. I'm familiar with, faces. And so when I see somebody that I haven't seen before and ask them how they got here, I had a woman yesterday tell me she's new on the streets this week, was evicted. Our housing crisis is playing a big part of this. So.
Well, we do have a bite. I mentioned earlier this $80 million is going to be available to combat homelessness over the next 3 years. And let's hear what the mayor has to say on that.
And so first and foremost, the commission is going to invest more than $50 million to create hundreds of new permanent supportive housing units. And this plan also provides vouchers to support the county's Project One for All initiative for homeless individuals who are struggling with mental health issues.
Well, there's some questions here. Where's that money coming from? How many people is it really going to help? Is it that much? I mean, 80 million sounds like a lot over 3 years, but.
So there's a lot of different initiatives within this $80 million plan, and a lot of it goes toward permanent housing. They're hoping to house in permanent housing, which is usually a single room, a motel room type of room, or a studio apartment. So basically, they're hoping to get 3,000, maybe up to 5,000 people off the streets in the next 3 years into permanent housing. It also has a preventative measure, so trying to prevent people from falling into homelessness in the first place, so hoping to help 1,400 individuals or families by helping them if they're on the brink of eviction or if they're having issues that are leading them toward homelessness, to step in before they end up on the streets. There's also initiatives to increase outreach. I was talking to Rick Gentry, who is the head of the Housing Commission, and he said that they have, 75 housing navigators that are helping people use their housing vouchers to get into low-income facilities, low-income housing, because, 1 in 6 of our street population have probation or parole or parolees. We have, a lot of people who have mental illness. They're not able to take a voucher and go negotiate with the landlord to get in.
Navigators come into play then?
Right.
What's that?
So housing navigators is kind of like real estate agents for the homeless who are helping them find a unit, helping them, talk to landlords to get into housing, because we have this tight market. Landlords are most likely picking somebody who has a stable income over somebody who has credit problems and evictions and, possibly a criminal record.
Now, go ahead, Michael.
Well, I was just going to say, on the vouchers and incentives for landlords, you brought up the point that it's a tight housing market. They've had some of those in the past that haven't been as successful because, like you say, the market is such that they can be a little more choosy. Certainly, for right or wrong reasons, not selecting a homeless person with a voucher or somebody that has a voucher, but are the incentives, are they improving them at all, or
they are
expanding
improving them? It sounds like if we're taking a first-time homeless client, that it's a $500 incentive, $250 for every client after that. So the incentives are increased. Plus, they try to push the idea that the money, the monthly rent will be paid. That's not a question, because a lot of these people are getting, their full month's rent paid until they're able to provide up to 30% of their income. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Now, there was a big push to get veterans off the street here. How did that go?
Right, and we saw in our homeless count from January that the number of homeless veterans living on the streets dropped by 21% over the year before. There's been a 30% decline in homeless veterans altogether in the last 3 to 4 years. And officials are crediting that Housing First initiative, getting people off the streets into secure housing, and then addressing their issues, whether it's addiction or mental issues or just whatever issues they're facing.
It seems like such a chronic and frustrating problem. And you've talked to a lot of caseworkers who deal individually day to day. How do they keep going? How do they keep the morale up?
Right, and some of these people are incredible, and their stories are similar to those who have been on the streets. And I talked to 2 women this past week. One fled war in West Africa, knows what struggle is, knows what obstacles, sees people as human beings. It's hard to look at a person thrashing about on a sidewalk who's screaming to himself. You and I might say, wow, that's just this amazingly hopeless situation, but people like the workers that I spoke to see hope and see ways to help them. And it just takes a lot of patience. It takes compassion, a big heart, and they don't look out and look at all these tents and look at these thousands, people within blocks living among one another. They look at individuals.
Take one person at a time. Yeah, I can see that. You mentioned Rick Gentry, head of the Housing Commission. We've got a bite for him about the obstacles dealing with homelessness.
What San Diego's got to do is to understand a transition from a small city to a true urban area with housing expansion, instead of being pushed out, pushed in and up, greater density, which itself could provide more affordability. We've got 75,000 applicants for 15,000 occupied units with a turnover rate of about 100 a month. You can do the math.
All right, Michael, so he's talking there about this ongoing debate we have about density. That's building up and tighter neighborhoods versus sprawl. What's the politics on that?
Well, the politics have never been good on that in this region. I mean, people, have been opposed to that. There was just not very long ago in the Marina area, they wanted, the transit corridors, they wanted to what they called high rises here, six stories. Yeah. I mean, coming from the east.
It ain't New York. Yeah.
But even that was swatted down, by the local folks. So I'm not blaming them, but that just shows you how difficult it is. Now, the one dynamic. So it's always been difficult. The dynamic that may be changing a little bit is you've got developers and government wanting to do this. Of course, they're trying to give developers incentives. But also environmentalists starting to push to that over the whole global warming aspect, and needing people on the transportation corridors or transit corridors to get cars off the road. So, do we have that? Has that become critical mass enough? I haven't seen it yet, but that seems to be where people are hoping to go, because they're not going to solve the climate action, global warming issue without it, or really the homelessness problem, because housing is just too wildly expensive.
Well, we've got to move on, but I know we'll be revisiting this, and we have this issue a lot, and it's a very tough and challenging one for everybody. Well, for many decades, San Diego Gas and Electric has enjoyed a monopoly as the region's power supplier. But the utility, whose energy prices are among the nation's highest, is facing challenges. Cities want more competition, more ways to get power from clean energy sources. SDG&E has proven quite adept over the years at facing down such challenges, but more area cities, including San Diego, are determined to buy power on their terms from someone else. So, I start with a summary here. How has SDG&E managed to hang on to this monopoly and beat back some of these challenges?
So, they're the sort of natural private monopoly, or actually a regulated private monopoly for electricity. And in the past, particularly after the energy crisis in around 2000, a couple of cities, I looked at Chula Vista and San Marcos, had looked about starting their own utility to provide service to all or some developing parts of both those sort of fast-growing cities.
And they had ambitious plans. It seemed to be a solid approach.
Yeah, and they did some studies, and you can always debate the assumptions in a study, but they said, we're going to save money by doing this. We're going to buy power from somebody else, and we're going to build our own transmission lines. And SDG&E came in both cases and lobbied in different forms against both programs. In San Marcos, they spent a couple $100,000, formed a sort of political action group, a citizens group, and sort of swatted down the San Marcos plan. In Chula Vista, they came to an arrangement with the city council, which was trying to clean up the bayfront. There was an old power station there, and there were some transmission lines, and they kind of got some goodies from SDG&E to clean up the bayfront, which is now a major economic development site. But in exchange for that, they sort of gave up their ambitions of becoming their own utility.
Now, give us a little background on how SDG&E provides energy over the regional power grid. I don't know if everyone really understands that.
So when you get your bill, there's two things going on. SDG&E is in sort of two businesses. They sort of send electricity to you, and that's its own thing. A lot of that, most of that, they buy from somebody else. They buy it from a natural gas plant. They buy it from solar facilities. And then they're also in the business of charging people for use of their lines, and that's their distribution charge. So the electrons that sort of make your iPhone light up aren't usually theirs, and they don't usually make a lot of money on that. What they do make money on is sort of guaranteed profits on building power lines and substations and all that stuff. So they're in two businesses. So when you're trying to have the government come in and do the functions of utility, you can do one of those two things or both. And right now the focus is on buying power from other sources so that you don't have SDG buying power for you, and just using SDG&E's lines to get the power that you bought, presumably cheaper.
All right, and that gets into this idea and this unfortunate name of community choice aggregator, CCA we'll call it.
Yeah.
Explain that.
So that's just government buying power and bringing it to you across SDG&E's lines, and it's a terrible name. Everybody's trying to figure out some other and more descriptive way, because it doesn't help consumers or anybody. It's really government managed power in some ways.
And why do cities, I mean, I'll pick Carlsbad, we've mentioned some others here that are looking at that. There's 5 North County cities right now, Carlsbad among them, looking at it. Why do they see this as a better way to go?
There's a couple of different reasons. There's some pretty high interest in having cheaper power. They believe, if they're able, government believes that since they're not a for-profit company, they could do something cheaper. And then there's environmental goals. SDG&E has been pretty good about moving away from natural gas. 43% of their portfolio right now is renewable energy, solar and wind. None of it, in a real way, is coal. So SDG&E says, we're getting green. We're trying to get greener. But governments, including the city of San Diego's, want 100% renewable energy in a very short period of time.
Very aggressive.
25 years.
Examples.
Michael?
I know that the studies say this, and the key thing I think for most consumers is the cheaper aspect.
Yeah.
Has there been any examples of CCAs or CCA-like programs actually proving that?
Yeah, so Marin, up in Marin County,
Northern California.
In Northern California, has really the first modern CCA in California. They had to fight PG&E, and PG&E spent millions of dollars to try and make that not happen. But Marin has pretty consistently been able to deliver slightly cheaper power.
We do have a bite here I wanted to get to. It's a clip of Peter Hasopoulos, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, with the Sierra Club. He's explaining to KPBS reporter Claire Tragerson why he thinks cities should be able to choose where they get their power.
Our cities here locally, our region is moving to clean energy. We have more and more solar every day, and a rapidly evolving energy storage, battery storage underway, and continuing to pursue fossil fuels and the extraordinarily costly infrastructure to support that is simply antiquated and not our future.
So we've got 5 cities, as I said, Oceanside, Carlsbad, Encinitas, Del Mar, Solana Beach, and the North County pursuing these CCAs. What are their chances to actually pull it off against the utilities' resistance?
So my impression so far is that, Del Mar leaving SDG&E isn't a big deal. Solana Beach, same thing. You have a couple thousand customers in each city. The big deal, where the rubber will really meet the road, is in the city of San Diego. If the city of San Diego decides to do that, that's a significant portion of SDG&E's customer base. SDG&E is not technically allowed to lobby itself, so it has its parent company, has another child company that will do the lobbying, but that's where the rubber will meet the road when we see Sempra, SDG&E's parent, what they'll do at San Diego City Council in coming months.
And it just, as you've alluded to, it's changing so rapidly in the energy, the whole energy system across the country, and development, the national level and all, surge in homeowners and businesses switching to solar. All of these, I mean, 5 years from now, this could look quite a bit different than as we sit here today.
Yeah, I mean, if you told people 10 or 20 years ago you couldn't do it without coal, they wouldn't have believed you. Now there's that same debate over natural gas. Nobody saw natural gas being as cheap as it is, which has helped it really beat back coal-fired power across the country. And now the question is whether you can beat natural gas prices consistently.
Solar, wind, better technology, improvement in batteries and all sorts of things to store all of this. Well, we'll see. Again, another issue that we will come back to many times here. We have run out of time, I'm afraid. That does wrap up another week of stories at the KPBS Roundtable. I'd like to thank my guests, Michael Smolens of the San Diego Union-Tribune, Susan Murphy of KPBS News, and Ry Rivard of Voice of San Diego. A reminder, all the stories we discussed today are available on our website, kpbs.org. You can also catch any shows you missed on the Roundtable podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Mark Sauer. Thanks for joining us today on the Roundtable.